35. When calamities such as frost and hailstorms occur, it is the real sharp weapons returning upon me for failing to properly observe my pledges and moral precepts. From now on, I will keep my pledges and vows pure. Okay? So calamities such as frost and hailstorms, that happens here in Missoula. Okay, sometimes frozen rain that, freezes on your electric lines and the lines break. Okay, so it's the wheel of sharp weapons for failing to properly observe our pledges and moral precepts. So if we've taken the 5 precepts or our monastic precepts, not, respecting them and keeping them, making excuses, well, I took a precept not to drink alcohol, but I'm visiting my family and it's Christmas, and they really want me to, and they'll be kind of upset if I don't join in the festivities. So it's only for Christmas I'll take this glass of vodka. We make all sorts of justifications like that. Or it could be something of our bodhisattva vows, again, not respecting our bodhisattva vows. Or, of course, our tantric pledges and precepts, same way. So from now on, I will keep my pledges and precepts pure. So to really, when we've taken an ethical precept, instead of seeing it as something that somebody else put upon us, to see it as something that we voluntarily chose to do because we know it's good for us. Yeah. So you don't see your precepts as, like something that somebody else is forcing you to do, and then the Buddha becomes the cop who's chasing you and is going to bust you every time you break a precept. That's not the kind of relationship you want to have with the Buddha. Yeah, but to really see your precepts as something that protect you, and that's something that you, with your wisdom mind, voluntarily chose to do. Yeah, because you knew that living in a certain way and abandoning particular actions would be helpful to you and others. Okay, 36. When I am avaricious yet bereft of wealth, it is the wheel of sharp weapons returning upon me for failing to give charity and making offerings to the 3 jewels. From now on, I will strive in giving an offering. Okay, so when we're avaricious, we're very greedy, and yet we don't have any wealth. Sound familiar? I want, I wish I have, they have and I don't. I'm American, I should be able to afford this. Yeah. Yet we're bereft of wealth. Gee, my bank account is empty. I'm in credit card debt. Wasn't all from lattes, was it? Well, no, I went on a vacation and spent the money doing all sorts of ridiculous things, or whatever it is, So we're very greedy, but we don't have any wealth. So it's the wheel of sharp weapons for failing to give charity and failing to make offerings. So remember I was saying that generosity is the cause of wealth? So a person just says that but doesn't do it. And so there were the opportunity to give charity, to the poor, to the needy, to people who need help, to some kind of, good enterprise. And like I said, we can't give to every single charity, and we can't give millions of dollars to every single charity unless you're a few particular people, in this country who can afford to do so. But we pick the charities that we feel a heart connection with, and we give something, but we really spend time and cultivate a good motivation and really wish the people well who are going to benefit from, whatever our donation is. Yeah. So, and then we rejoice in the donation and we feel good about it instead of saying, oh, that means I can't go to the movies. Yeah. I would say, no, look, I was generous, and isn't it wonderful? These people can benefit from my charity, from my offering, And who cares? I can watch the movie later on DVD, on Netflix or whatever it is. Anyway, most of the movies aren't worth seeing. Okay, so we failed to give to charity, we failed to make offerings to the three jewels, you know? So making offerings in the morning, having an altar in our house and offering water bowls every morning, or offering light, offering food, it doesn't take very long, yeah? Work, you know, supporting your Dharma center so that you can continue having teachings here. Supporting monasteries and teachers, you know, doing things to make offerings to the three jewels to sustain the Dharma. You know, in Southeast Asia, they have this wonderful thing of publishing Dharma books for free distribution. So people make offerings, and then you publish the Dharma books, and then people can have them freely. It's a beautiful thing to do. Yeah, so you know we should really try and make offerings to those in need and to the three jewels. Okay, so from now on I will strive in giving an offering. You know, doing that. So this is talking about material offering, but it could be also offering help. Yeah, because there's offering our time, there's offering our help. People need help doing one project or another. You know, if you ever need somebody to help, come to the Abbey. We will find an activity for you to help with. Okay, because we really rely on people coming and helping us. You know, but I'm sure you have friends who are doing, you know, remodeling things in their house, or you know, they need somebody to watch the dog, or who knows what. You know, so offering our time and assistance to people who need. 37, when I am ugly and am mistreated by my companions, it is the wheel-sharp weapons returning upon me for erecting ugly images while in the turmoil of anger. From now on, I will be patient while creating the images of deities. Okay, so when we are born, you know, with kind of ugly features and people don't like looking at us and we're mistreated because of it, again, there's a karmic reason for this, and specifically it's in the past when we were creating Buddhist images. Maybe we were making satsa, the little plaster or clay images, yeah, or we were making statues, we were making paintings, something like that. Then we were angry, and we just put that anger energy into the image we were making, or we were careless in making images, and we made them really kind of ugly, or with distorted features, or not in good proportion. And so having done that, then we get the result of not being very attractive. And so from now on, I will be patient when creating the images of deities. Okay. They say in general that practicing patience or fortitude is the cause to have a very beautiful appearance in future lives. And you can see the link because the opposite of patience and fortitude is anger. When people are angry, do they have an attractive appearance? No. Okay, even in general, they're kind of an attractive person. When they get angry, they are no longer attractive. Okay, so, you know, practicing patience and fortitude and subduing our anger makes us more attractive even now, and it creates the karma cause to be attractive in future lives. When attachment and anger erupt no matter what I do. We've never had that happen, have we? It is the wheel-sharp weapons returning upon me for allowing my untamed evil mind to become rigid. From now on, I will root out this obstinate heart. Okay, so we're really trying to practice, but every time we turn around, attachment erupts. I want this, I want that, go get me this, go get me that. Yeah? Or anger erupts. I don't like the way you're doing something. I don't like this, I don't like that. How come? Okay? So we're like trying to practice, but our mind is just like unruly. Yeah, I think you've had that experience? No, never. Yeah, okay. So it's the result of allowing our untamed evil mind to become rigid. So, you know, our bad motivations, we've just allowed them to stay there in our mind and get ossified and become quite habitual. And the more we allow, you know, bad thoughts to remain there, the more difficult they're going to be to remove. Okay? So we should really have the attitude that when we see an affliction arise, instead of indulging it or instead of ignoring it, to really recall the disadvantages of cyclic existence, of getting born again and again and again, and say, whoa, that's the result of letting this kind of thing stay in my mind. That's the result of this kind of habitual useless behavior I'm engaged in. And I don't like that result. I've been doing that long enough. I want to stop. You know, as they say in Italy, basta finito. Yeah, it's enough already. And, okay, and so from now on, I will root out this obstinate heart. So this stubborn ignorance that, is just, we let abide in our heart and, run the show. And so the attachment and jealousy and anger and all these things just kind of come one right after the other. When all my meditative practices fail in their aims, it is the wheel of sharp weapons returning upon me for allowing pernicious views to enter my heart. From now on, whatever I do, will be solely for others' sake. Okay? So our meditative practices, we don't achieve the aims. We're trying to develop concentration. We're trying to develop insight. Neither of them come. We're trying to develop patience. Patience, the fortitude doesn't come. Okay, so it seems like our practices aren't going anywhere. So this is because we have let wrong views enter our heart. Yeah, and wrong views are actually the most pernicious of all the negative actions. You know, when we go through the 10 destructive pathways of action, start us out with killing and stealing, and we might think, no, killing is the worst of all of those. But actually, wrong views, which is the last one, is the worst, because if you have wrong views, which means you don't believe in cause and effect, you don't believe that your actions have an ethical dimension. If you have that kind of wrong view in your mind, then you'll do the other 9 non-virtues very readily. Yeah. So having right views, which includes having belief in the law of cause and effect, the functioning of karma and its results, that's really very, very important. So if we don't have that, then we can rationalize, justify anything. Then we're really sunk. Okay, so from now on, whatever I do will be solely for others' sake. So again, instead of having wrong views, like one of our wrong views might be, if I don't take care of myself, nobody's going to take care of me. So I better be number one. Yeah? We've heard that said a lot, haven't we? Yeah. So I'm not saying ignore ourselves. I'm not saying don't take care of ourselves. But often we use that as a rationalization for our self-centeredness. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah?
I had a friend that was kind of having a conversation with us about this recently, and I mean, can you say a little bit more about that, about where the line is? Because there seems to be like a certain point where we do have to take care of ourselves so we can be effective.
Right.
But I mean, how can we be a little more wise, I guess, in knowing
taking
where
care?
That is?
Yeah. Okay, so we do have to take care of ourselves, because if we don't, then we can't do anything else for anybody else. Okay? So we have to maintain our health, we have to eat well, we have to keep our body clean, we have to do the basic things to stay alive and keep our health. and keep ourselves balanced. So I'm not talking about becoming a dharma maniac and pushing ourselves. Yeah, we have to keep our mind happy and balanced. Yeah, but doing that is very different from self-indulgence. Okay? Self-indulgence is, I just want all the good things, and I'm lazy, and I don't want to do anything else for anybody else, and they're a pain in the neck, and the world should revolve around me and what I feel like doing. Okay? So that's what we want to get rid of. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between the two things. Yeah. It's like, well, it's Saturday, and I usually get up at 5:30 to meditate. Shall I get up today? It's Saturday. Well, it's Saturday, and I could get up at 5:30. I've slept enough, but last Tuesday I didn't really sleep so well, and there's nothing. Saturday's supposed to be a day of rest, and I'm going to mow the lawn later, and that'll be really hard work, so I need some extra sleep this morning until maybe about noon. Yeah? Okay. 40, when my mind remains untamed despite spiritual practice, it is the wheel of sharp weapons returning upon me for eagerly pursuing mundane ambitions. From now on, I will concentrate on aspiring for liberation. So my mind remains untamed despite spiritual practice. So if we're actually doing spiritual practice, our mind will not remain untamed. If we're doing what externally looks like spiritual practice, but we don't have the correct motivation, or our motivation is just very sloppy, and we're doing something by rote, then our mind will remain untamed despite our practice. Okay? So don't think when if you're practicing and you don't seem to be making headway, yeah, first of all, don't get into judging yourself and analyzing how well you're, oh, I made 15 offerings to the Buddha and still I'm falling asleep. You would think offering those 15 oranges would have done it already. Don't start thinking like that. And when we make offerings, it should really be from the bottom of our heart with a good aspiration. Okay? But, instead of doing spiritual practice, if we've been pursuing mundane ambitions, so maybe we're sitting there doing our prostrations or mandala offerings or whatever, but our mind is thinking about, oh, where can I go? Who can I see? What kind of nice things can I have? Or, we're chanting our mantra and we're thinking, oh, my brother said this to me. My sister did this. Oh, money, pay me, oh, money, pay me, oh. I can't stand the way my siblings treat me. Oh, money, pay me, oh. I have the most dysfunctional family in the world. Oh, money, pay me, oh. I really need to do something about this. Oh, money, pay me. Okay? So, it looks like spiritual practice, but actually our mind is filled with all sorts of, mean thoughts towards others. Now, 41. When I feel remorse, as soon as I sit down and reflect, it is the wheel of sharp weapons returning upon me for being shamelessly fickle and clamoring for high status. From now on, I will be vigilant in my association with others. Okay, so we sit down to meditate. And what do we feel? I'm such an awful person. Why did I do this? I did this, and that wasn't so nice. And I really, I'm just, that thing of kind of guilt and shame and remorse for our actions and all of that. You know that kind of mind? Yeah. You sit down to meditate. Right. Yeah. So this is also, a karmic result of being shamelessly fickle and clamoring for high status. Okay, so instead of like doing our practice and being honest and direct, or not only in our practice but in our life, then we're always changing our mind. We're playing one person against the other. We're always looking out for the best deal for ourselves. And so we plan one thing, but when we can get a better deal doing something else, we switch to that, and it doesn't matter if other people are inconvenienced by our actions. Or we're clamoring for high status. We're very competitive with the people that we work at. We want, we work together in a team, and then we want to get the credit. Yeah, don't you love that? Yeah. When other people do that, we don't like it. When we do it, it's okay. Yeah? But we want to, we're, clamoring for a high status. So always doing things, wanting to make ourselves look good. Yeah, blowing our own trumpet, singing our own praises to convince our boss or to convince a prospective, grantor, or who knows what it is. Okay, so it brings the result of feeling very remorseful as soon as we sit down to meditate. And you can, again, see the connection, because when we act like that, inside we know what we're doing isn't good. Yeah, when we're just very fickle and conniving, then inside we know, it's stressful, isn't it? Yeah, when your mind's conniving. Yeah, and so then of course you feel remorse when you sit down. So from now on I will be vigilant in my association with others. So I will be kind and considerate, and I won't be trying to get one up on somebody else, make myself look good and somebody else look bad. I won't compete with somebody else so that I get more attention or more whatever it is that I'm looking for. But I'll try and be more cooperative and collaborate with other people. Share, whatever praise there is, share it. We work together as a team, and somebody says, wow, this is, what you did is really good work. And then instead of saying, well, I was the team leader, or it was all my idea, or whatever, you say, well, these people, look at them. They were fantastic. They really, are very creative, and they work together well as a group. So even you get some praise, you don't take it for yourself. You give it for everybody who is involved. 42, when I am deceived by others' treachery, it is the wheel of sharp weapons returning upon me for being conceited and greedy. From now on, I will be discreet with respect to everything. So deceived by others' treachery, other people manipulate us, they take advantage of us, they lie to us, they get us involved in all sorts of scummy deals. Yeah, so it's, again, you can really see the connection in all these things. When you sit and think about karma, why am I, getting manipulated and drawn into all sorts of creepy things that are going to, turn out kind of rotten? Because I've been conceited and greedy. Yeah? So when you're conceited, you think you're the best thing of all. It's, and it's so easy for people to hook you. Yeah, it's true, isn't it? When we're wanting good reputation, when we're wanting praise, when we're very attached to these things, or when we're very puffed up about ourselves, it's so easy for people to manipulate us, because all they need to do is feed into our conceit, feed into our attachment. Yeah, and so it's actually our own responsibility, because if we weren't so conceited and greedy, we would be looking at things in a lot clearer way. And we wouldn't be looking just for our own benefit at others' expense. So from now on, I will be discreet with respect to everything. So I will be discreet now, and I won't puff myself up and want to take the front seat and, claim the best thing for myself, but I will be humble and discreet and make sure everybody involved has something good. Yeah, so there's lots of chances to do that kind of thing. Yeah, you go out for a meal and you order food and there's not quite enough, so you share. Yeah, or you order something more, you help somebody out. You know, there's so many ways in which we can kind of be discreet and ease a situation, smooth a situation, instead of insisting, I am winning this argument. Some of us are really attached to winning arguments. Anybody here? I have to have the last word. I've been reading a book that's a dialogue between this one person and His Holiness. And it's very interesting. In some places I can see where this person doesn't quite understand what His Holiness is saying correctly. And then the end of the section is his conclusion, not what His Holiness was saying. Yeah. I was like, yeah. Yeah, it was quite interesting because His Holiness was telling this story about this monk who was in a Chinese communist prison, and when he got out and came to His Holiness to see him, His Holiness said, what were you most frightened by when in prison? And the monk said, losing my compassion for the prison guards, for the people imprisoning me, which I think is just, amazing that somebody could think that. And so this person in the dialogue in the book said to His Holiness, well, that's very noble that that monk thought that, but the rest of us can't possibly do it. And if we, even had that, motivation to do it, we would really become discouraged. So acting like that really shouldn't be a goal for the rest of us. Isn't that interesting? But we often think that way. We often think, if it's not something I can achieve, then I shouldn't even aim for it. Yeah? How much do we do that ourselves? How much do we stop ourselves by saying, this is too hard, there's a few special, exceptional people that can do this, and I'm not one of them, so I shouldn't really have this as a goal. It's a pretty severe assumption that becomes a big hindrance in our life. Or another assumption was, well, if I try and I can't do it, then the only possible reaction I can have is to become discouraged. Whereas bodhisattvas try, and if it's something that's going to take a long time and they can't be instantly successful, they renew their aspiration and go to it even more. Whereas this person was just assuming, well, if you try and it doesn't go as quickly as you want, the only possible way to respond is just be discouraged. So we don't want to get discouraged, so don't even try. Very interesting. And so the conclusion of the section of the book was this man's conclusion, even though that's not what His Holiness was saying. So anyway, my point was, we want to win the argument. We want to have our point at the end. Yeah? Kind of interesting how that plays out sometimes, doesn't it? Because in this case, this particular person they were doing their best, but they were being really blind. Yeah? They couldn't understand that, bodhisattvas, even if you can't attain it, you still aspire for it. And you don't get discouraged. You just still keep going. Okay, where are we? Deceived. 43. When my studies and teaching fall prey to attachment and anger, it is the wheel of sharp weapons returning upon me for failing to reflect on the ills of demons in my heart. From now on, I will examine adverse forces and overcome them. Okay, my studies and teaching fall prey to anger and attachment. So you're trying to study the Dharma, lead a discussion group, lead a meditation, do something virtuous, and, you're just having attachment and anger. So it's failing to reflect on the ills, the disadvantages of the afflictions that we have. And so from now on, I will examine, the afflictions in my heart and do something to counteract them. 44, when all the good I have done turns out badly. I did so much good and they don't appreciate. It is the wheel of sharp weapons returning upon me, for repaying others' kindness with ingratitude. From now on, I will respectfully repay others' kindness. Okay, so we're making efforts to do something good. Our good works get foiled. There's all sorts of hindrances and things. So it's a karmic retribution, because in the past, we repaid others' kindness with ingratitude. So again, here too, you can see the link. Yeah, when we've been ungrateful to others' kindness, then when we are trying to do something good, it's not going to turn out well. Because when we had the opportunity to do something good and repay somebody's kindness, we didn't do it. We were quite ungrateful. Makes some sense? You ever done that? Not repaid others' kindness with ingratitude?
Like holding grudges, kind of.
Holding.
Thinking you got enough for, wasn't good enough.
Yeah, what you did for me wasn't good enough. Why are you doing that? How much do we thank our parents for whatever they do?
Our parents did everything for us when we didn't know how much they were doing.
Yeah, yeah. And all we did, as we grew up was say, give me the car keys and don't tell me what time to be home. Yeah. At our conference, the monastic conference I just came from, we were discussing training, and there was one session on the role of the abbot or the abbess, and so in the middle of the conversation about that, one person in the audience, who was now the abbot of a monastery, said, "Yeah, when you're training, you just do whatever, and then you become the abbot." And you realize what you put your own teacher through, and you quickly call your teacher up and say, "Hey, I'm sorry." Yeah. Okay. In brief, when calamities befall me like bolts of lightning, it is the wheel of sharp weapons returning upon me. Just like the ironsmith who is slain by his own sword, from now on I will be heedful against negative acts. So this is, we have a few verses we're coming up on that are kind of summarizing the main point. So when the calamities befall me, like bolts of lightning, it's due to my own negative actions. There is no reason at all to get upset with anybody else. Yeah, it's all due to my own negative actions undertaken under the influence of self-grasping ignorance and self-cherishing mind. So this is just like the ironsmith who was killed by his own sword. Yeah, he made the sword is used to kill him. We do actions, we do negative actions, those actions result in our own suffering. This is the whole point. And so the conclusion, from now on I will be heedful against negative actions. And really watch, be careful of my body, speech, and mind, what I'm saying and thinking and feeling and doing. Okay, 46. When I undergo sufferings in the lower realms, it's the wheel of sharp weapons returning upon me, like an archer slain by his own arrow. From now on I will be heedful against negative acts. So the same kind of idea, yeah? We create something, we're the ones who experience the result, so let's be careful of what we create. 47, when the sufferings of the householder life befall me, it is the wheel of sharp weapons returning upon me, like parents slain by their own cherished children. From now on, I will rightly renounce a worldly life. So that verse is directed towards monastics. But you do have to admit there's a certain suffering in a householder life, isn't there? Yeah, there's a certain, I mean, monastics have suffering too, but we don't have teenagers. Yeah. We take your teenagers after you've gone through all the aggravation, then send them to us, okay? Okay. 48. Since that's the way things are, I seize the enemy. I've caught the thief who steals and deceives with stealth. Okay, so the thief here is the self-centered attitude, self-grasping ignorance. Aha, there is no doubt that it's this self-grasping indeed. This charlatan deceives me by impersonating me. So the self-grasping ignorance fabricates a self, a truly existent self with some kind of essence, yeah, and it seems like it's me. In fact, we think that that's who we are, that there's a real person there. Okay, so it's impersonating. There's actually a person that exists by being merely labeled, but we think there's a person that has its own essence, an own objective existence out there. 49, yeah, now Yamantaka raised the weapon of karma. It's actually the weapon of action over his head. Spin the wheel 3 times fiercely over his head. Your legs of 2 truths spread far apart, and eyes of method and wisdom wide open. With your fangs of 4 powers bared, strike the enemy. So we're calling out to Yamantaka, the fierce manifestation of the Buddha of wisdom. And so raise the weapon of actions. There's 4 actions that bodhisattvas do: peace, increase, control, and force. So with, those 4 skillful actions to benefit sentient beings, spin the wheel 3 times fiercely over his head, it's like to cut the lower realms, cut the desire realm, the form realm, the formless realm. Your legs of the 2 truths. The 2 truths are conventional and ultimate truths. In other words, how things appear. The conventional truth, how they actually exist, the ultimate truth. Your eyes of method and wisdom. So method means, compassion, renunciation, generosity, all the deeds of a bodhisattva to benefit others. And wisdom means the wisdom side of the path that helps us understand impermanence and especially emptiness and selflessness. So we need both these aspects in our practice. We need compassion and kindness and a good way of relating to the world, and we also need penetrative insight that sees exactly how things exist. Yeah. If you just have one of those and not the other, then no full enlightenment. Okay, we need the method side and the wisdom side. We need the bodhicitta and the wisdom. Okay, with your fangs of the 4 powers bared, strike the enemy. So the fangs of the 4 powers, when we do purification, they're done with the 4 opponent powers. Okay, so having regret for our negativity, taking refuge and generating bodhicitta, which means having a positive attitude towards those we may have harmed. Third is to make a determination to avoid that kind of negative action in the future. And 4th is doing some kind of remedial behavior to kind of counteract it, And so when we do purification with those 4 opponent powers, then it starts to cut all the negative karma that we created under the influence of self-preoccupation and ignorance. Okay? So verse 50, the king of spells who confounds the enemy's mind, summon this oath breaker who betrays self and others, this savage called self-grasping demon, who while brandishing the weapon of karma runs amok in the jungle of cyclic existence. Okay? So this oath breaker who betrays self and others, that's our self-centered thought. You know, our self-centered thought takes precepts and we break them. It makes promises to others and doesn't carry them through. It makes pledges to our spiritual masters and ignores them. And so we betray our own happiness and we betray the happiness of others when we act like this. You know? And we do it because, you know, we're either attached to pleasure or we're really arrogant and we think we're kind of in charge in the show and can do anything we want. Okay? So this savage called the self-grasping demon. Yeah, I was at a high school one time teaching. They asked me to come talk to a class about Buddhism. And so afterwards, one teenager approached me and said, "Do Buddhists believe in the devil?" Yeah, you could tell what kind of background he came from. And I said, "We don't believe in an external devil that is tempting us or is going to harm us. But we say our own self-centered attitude, our own selfishness is like the devil in that it makes us do actions that harm ourselves and others." Yeah. So no external being to be afraid of. Yeah, it's our own, you know, our own mind that creates the cause. Shantideva talks about that a lot, how no other living, the worst any other living being can do to you is end this life. But another living being cannot send you to the lower realms, cannot make you have a bad rebirth. The worst they can do is just take this life. Yeah? But our self-centeredness, our self-grasping ignorance, that can send us to a lower rebirth. That can make us suffer for eons and eons. So the real enemy is inside here. So, you know, we've got to kind of let up on other people. Yeah. So my mother used to say, "Stop knocking your head against the wall." Okay. So this savage, you know, runs amok in the jungle of cyclic existence. And you can tell, you know, when we're just under the influence of our own selfishness, and we just think about what I want, what I feel like doing, my happiness, don't boss me around, I'm in charge, you know, then we're really running amok and we're creating a big mess, you know, for ourselves and other people. Yeah, can you see that in your own life when you've done that? Okay, 51. Summon him, wrathful Yamantaka. Strike him, pierce the heart of this enemy, the self. Dance and trample on the head of this betrayer, false conception. Mortally strike at the heart of this butcher and enemy, ego. Okay, so Yamantaka, the embodiment of wisdom, you know, summon this self-grasping ignorance that fabricates a truly existent self. Summon the self-centered mind that thinks we're more important than others. Strike the ignorance, strike the self-centered mind. You know, pierce the heart of this enemy, you know, the self, either the fabricated self or the self that we're cherishing as more important than anybody else. Dance and trample on the head of this betrayer, false conception, because it's our own false conceptions that betray us. Yeah? And mortally strike the heart of this butcher and enemy, ego. Okay, our wrong conception of the self. So this language sounds very violent, yeah, but it's not directed at any sentient beings. It's directed at ignorance. It's directed at selfishness, you know, because they're the real enemy. So it can be really effective, you know, when you kind of, you know how every once in a while we kind of wake up in our life and we go, what have I been doing? You know, it's like I've been behaving abominably. I've been like really going down the wrong path. What kind of got into me? Then it can be very forceful. You know, you imagine this kind of forceful embodiment or manifestation of compassion. And it's just like, yes, you know, cut out my self-centeredness. With what? With the compassion that cherishes others. with the mind that wants to become a Buddha for the benefit, for their benefit. Cut out and damage and strike at the heart of my self-centered ignorance, because that's the thing that is the root of all of my samsara, all of my misery. Yeah? So it's really kind of saying to ourselves, okay, enough already with this. I've got to stop indulging these defilements in my mind that just make a mess. Okay, 52, hum, great meditation deity, display your miraculous powers. Za, bind this enemy tightly. Pei, release us from all bondage. Shik, I beseech you to cut the knot of grasping. So again, the same kind of meaning, just using forceful language so that we can get through to ourselves that, I got to wake up and do something about this. Yeah. You know how if there's somebody you really care about and this person is just acting nuts and making bad decisions and you want to shake them and go, come on already? This is what we're doing, to our own misconceptions. Okay. 53, appear before me, O Yamantaka, my meditation deity. Tear it, rip to shreds this very instant the leather sack of karma and the 5 poisonous afflictions that mire me in karma's samsaric mud. Hey, so Yamantaka, please help me to purify this sack of karma, so the karma created under the influence of ignorance and self-centeredness, and the 5 poisonous afflictions, so confusion, attachment, anger, jealousy, and arrogance or conceit, which are all pretty nasty states of mind when you think about them. Yeah, do you enjoy any of those states of mind? Confusion, attachment, you enjoy getting angry? Jealousy is horrible, isn't it? So painful. Yeah, conceit is really miserable too, because we have so much fear lying behind the conceit. Okay, so these things mire me in samsaric mud. So Yamantaka, with your wisdom, help me to gain the wisdom that knows things as they actually are, and with that wisdom, then to cut off my own ignorance. 54, even though he leads me to misery in the 3 lower realms, I do not learn to fear him, but rush to his source. Okay, so it's talking about, our enemy, self-centered mind, ignorance. Yeah, dance and trample on the head of this betrayer, false conception, mortally strike at the heart of this butcher and enemy ego. Okay, so more of this thing, really getting through to us what our real problem is and what the origin of our misery is. 55, though my desire for comfort is great, I do not gather its causes. Though I have little endurance for pain, I am rife with the dark craving of greed. Dance and trample on the head of this betrayer, false conception, mortally strike at the heart of this butcher and enemy ego. Okay, my desire for comfort is great. Talking to any of us here? I always want to be comfortable. Okay, but I don't create the causes for comfort. Yeah, by always being attached to my own comfort and pushing myself before others and denying others of comfort, I create the cause not to be comfortable. Okay, though I have little endurance for pain, I'm rife with the dark craving of greed. So I don't like pain, but what do? I'm so greedy and I'm so full of craving that I create more and more causes for pain. So we're moving into a section of the book now where Dhammarakshita is again pointing out, there's going to be the verses that are very similar, pointing out how we act or what we want, and then how what we act is the opposite, is creating the cause for the opposite of what we want. Okay? Dharma Rakshita really pounds it into us. That we're self-sabotaging. And we really, this is what it means to take care of ourselves. We need to take care of ourselves by following the law of karma and its effects. We need to take care of ourselves by being less self-centered. We take care of ourselves by, destroying the ignorance through generating the wisdom that realizes the lack of true existence. Okay, though I want immediate results, talking about anybody? My efforts to achieve them are feeble. Yeah, we want all sorts of results in our faith, in our work, in our Dharma practice, but to create the causes for them? No, don't want to do that. We'd rather sit back and complain about the world being unfair. Though I pursue many tasks, I never complete a single one. Yeah, there are people who promise to do many things, take 1 or 2 steps to do them, and don't finish. If you've ever worked in a volunteer organization, you know this very well. Yeah? I pursue many tasks. Yeah, volunteers step up, yes, and they mean well. Yes, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll help with this, I'll help with that. And then never complete a single thing because they get distracted or who knows what. And then they don't tell you, and you're expecting something to be done because you have an event, and whoops. So we need to be more careful about what we promise to do, and all the things that we start, and not waste our own time and other people's time, by not following through. And so really examining things well before we volunteer to do something or before we start something. If we run into bumps along the way, that's natural, but then ask for help or tell the people who are relying on us that it looks like we'll be unable to finish the task. So at least they know. Dance and trample on the head of this betrayer, false conception. Mortally strike at the heart of this butcher and enemy, ego. Okay, so all these verses that are coming have the same refrain at the end, to destroy the self-centered thought, destroy the self-grasping ignorance. Huh?
What number is that?
That was 56 in my book here. Maybe a slightly different number in your book.
57.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 57 in yours?
Someone else?
No, it's 50. No, it's 58.
It looked like
No, 57. 57. We have high expectations, give you attainments.
Okay.
Yep.
It looks like the
Okay.
wish for comfort was in a different spot or something.
Yep.
57. Though I am eager to make new friends, my loyalty and friendship are false-lived. Okay, so we befriend people easily, but we're not very loyal to our friends. Yeah, we pick people up and drop them. Somebody does the slightest thing, we ignore them. We become close to somebody, and then when they fall on hard times, we just abandon them. Our friendship is false-lived. Fair weather friends, I think they call it. Okay. Though I aspire for resources, we want lots of possessions, money, I seek them through theft and extortion. Yeah. And we go, oh, me, I don't steal, I don't extort. Well, that's what all the people on Wall Street think too. I don't steal, I don't extort. That's the mafia that does that. Yeah. So we really have to check, in our work and our attitude towards making money, if in some way we are stealing from the public, stealing from consumers or people, and if we have a certain type of extortion, yeah, that favors ourselves over others. I mean, some of these guys getting these huge bonuses, while many people in our country, can't afford food, and the food stamps program is getting cut. Isn't that a kind of extortion? Isn't that a kind of theft? Yeah, so we need to look. Okay? Dance and trample on the head of this betrayer, false conception, mortally strike at the heart of this butcher and enemy, ego. 58, though skilled at flattery and innuendo, I know how to manipulate people. I know how to get what I want from them and make myself look good. Okay? So even though I can do all that, my discontent runs deep. Yeah? So constantly discontent, I'm constantly trying to manipulate. Though assiduously amassing wealth, I am chained by miserliness. Can't share anything with anybody. Yeah? Or we share a little bit, but only with our friends who already have a lot. Yeah. Was it Warren, how do you say his name? Buffett? Who said that he wanted to give away most of his wealth while he was still alive? You know, I think that's fantastic. You know, that's really...
Yeah, that's why he and Bill Gates created the foundation to give their money away.
Yeah. You know, because it used to be very much that wealthy families felt a social obligation to give something back to society, and it seems with a new get-rich kind of crowd, they don't have that kind of social conscience, which is really a pity because it's, you know, it's needed. Now, we can all sit here and, you know, we're kind of middle class and say, oh, those rich people, blah. But, you know, we should look at ourselves too. What can we do to contribute to the benefit of society? Dance and trample on the head, yeah?
But I don't understand what is the karma of this. You know, the skill at manipulating and not giving our wealth or helping others. What is the karma?
It's negative karma, isn't it? We're creating negative karma.
But what is the result?
It's not talking about the results here. In this section, you know, before we were talking about the results and what we did. Here it's talking about what we want and how we don't create the cause for it, but we create the cause for the opposite.
Okay.
And because we're doing that, therefore, let's destroy our self-centeredness and our self-grasping. Okay? 59. Though rarely rendering help to others, I remain most boastful. Okay? So we don't really help anybody very much, or we help them just a little bit, but we go around, oh, I helped this person, oh, I gave a donation to that, oh, I'm doing this for the public, oh, look how great I am. Okay? So we don't really help many people, but we certainly brag a lot. Though unwilling to take risks, I am bloated with ambition. Okay, we don't want to risk anything. Yeah, we want everything to be secure, nice and special for us, but we're incredibly ambitious and, you know, we want something for ourselves. So it means he's really pointing out our faults, isn't it? You know, how the actions we do are going to bring about the opposite of what we want. You know, and the thing is that it's all in our own hands. We can create, you know, our own future, and we're responsible for how our future turns out. Yeah. Dance and trample on the head of this betrayer, false conception, mortally strike at the heart of this butcher and enemy, ego. 60. Though I've had many teachers, my capacity for pledges remains weak. So I've made many Dharma teachers, I take the 5 precepts, I take the Bodhisattva vows, I take tantric initiations. My capacity for keeping all these things is flat, you know? Or even, you know, in regular life, we may have many friends, we promise them many things, we're going to do this for them and that for them, and in the end, we don't do very much at all. Okay. Though I have many students, my patience and will to help are scant. So you might have many Dharma students, who all sit there and go look at you and say, "Oh, my teacher is so wonderful." Or people who really have faith in you, but you're like, "Oh, they are too much. They want this, they want that. They pester me with this, they pester me with that." Okay, so my patience and will to help my Dharma students are scant. Yeah? I mean, he doesn't save Dharma teachers in his pointing out of faults. Yeah? Dance and trample on the head of this betrayer, false conception, mortally strike at the heart of this butcher and enemy, ego. Though eager to make promises, I remain weak in actual assistance. This is similar to before. Make many promises, don't do much. Though my fame may be great, when I am probed, even gods and ghosts are appalled. So I might be very famous. They may talk about me on CNN, or on Fox News, whatever it is. Yeah, so you might be very famous, but when people look carefully, even the gods and the ghosts think, our actions are horrible. Yeah, because we're being completely self-preoccupied, not caring about the effect of our actions on others. Oh, maybe we should send this to Congress. Dance and trample on the head of this betrayer, false conception, mortally strike at the heart of this butcher and enemy, ego. But, we talk about Congress, but we need to be responsible ourselves, too. 62, though I am weak in learning, my temerity for empty words is great. So I don't know much, but boy, I'm willing to explain the most difficult concepts to you. Yeah. I've been to one Dharma course in India, but I'm going to be the tea shop guru and preach to everybody, down in town and teach them the Dharma. Okay, though slight in scriptural knowledge, I meddle in all kinds of topics. Oh, Dzogchen, no problem, I can explain that to you. Mahamudra, it's a cinch. And wisdom of emptiness and bliss, no problem, I can teach you all about it. I'm this great learned person who obviously, having studied very little, I must be a Rinpoche and have all this memory from my previous lives. That's the only thing that could explain why I am so knowledgeable and highly realized. And the donation basket is right there. Okay, dance and trample on the head of this betrayer, false conception, mortally strike at the heart of this butcher and enemy, ego. Though I may have many friends and employees, none with dedication. Yeah, so we have lots of friends, lots of employees, yeah, but nobody really is dedicated to helping us. Okay? It's clear why. Yeah, our behavior is abominable. Though I may have many leaders, I have no guardian to rely on. Yeah, so I'm always getting involved, with friends and employees and leaders, anything to further my worldly gain. But nobody sticks by me because all these people too, since I'm coming at them to use them, they're also using me. You know how that happens together? We want to use somebody and then it works out well because they use us too. And then everybody winds up unhappy.
I think in old British times, they call them flatterers.
Yeah.
People who were in the court that we just flatter people.
Right, yeah.
And get the same thing in return.
Right. Yeah. Flatter, get favors, make yourself look good, get a good reputation, have somebody introduce you to powerful and famous people so you can have your picture taken with them. Yeah. There's me with this famous teacher, look at me, and even signed the picture. Okay. Okay, 64. Though my status may be high, my qualities remain less than a ghost. So we may have succeeded in getting high status. You know, maybe even somebody who is recognized as an incarnation of something or somebody. But then they just use that as social status. So my qualities remain less than a ghost. Yeah, though I may be a great teacher, my afflictions remain worse than a demon's. Yeah, so it's saying you may have a lot of fame. You hear it really talking about Dharma things or worldly things. You may have a lot of status for being knowledgeable and kind. You may be a Dharma teacher with many students. But, you know, you haven't practiced the Dharma and uprooted your own afflictions. Okay? So dance, and so that we need to know that, you know, not everybody who is recognized as a Rinpoche is actually is actually a bodhisattva or the correct identification of a previous master. This is something that is a social system within Tibet. And His Holiness Dalai Lama is always saying, look at somebody's qualities, don't look at their titles. Yeah, especially the inherited titles, you know, from what somebody supposedly did in their previous life. Look at what they've done this life. Look at who's worked hard. Yeah, look at who's really a good practitioner and who is really knowledgeable in this life. Okay, dance and trample on the head of this betrayer, false conception, mortally strike at the heart of this butcher, an enemy ego. 65, though my views may be lofty. Yes, I have the perfect prasangika view and I can debate you into the ground. My deeds are worse than a dog's. Okay, so you can have all the learning and be a good debater and not have integrated any of it into your being so that your actions don't change, and your actions are worse than a dog's. Though my qualities may be numerous, the fundamental ones are lost in the wind. So I may have, you know, be good at calligraphy and a good artist and good at those things. The fundamental qualities of wisdom and compassion, they got kind of blown away. Yeah. So again, you know, the same refrain. I won't read the refrain in all of these verses. 66. I harbor all my self-centered desires deep within. For all my disputes, I blame others for no reason. Talking about anybody here? I harbor all my self-centered desires deep within. And I put on the appearance of being a Dharma practitioner. Oh, please, can I help you? You know, here I am, you know, Mickey Mouse bodhisattvas. I will do this for you. I will do that for you. Aren't I wonderful? You should really think I'm a bodhisattva. But deep inside, what do I want? I want a good reputation. I want praise. Yeah. Giving me a present wouldn't hurt. Yeah, so we harbor all of our our self-centered desires deep within. Then, whenever there's disputes, whenever there's problems, even though we've studied the Dharma a lot, and we know that the problems originate in our own mind, what do? We blame others for no reason. Yeah, it's interesting. You know, when you were talking during the break time, did you start talking about your problems to other people? And when you talk about your problems, do you think of them as these are the results of my own negative karma? Or do we think of them as still, you know, even the break time from hearing a teaching like this, as my problems are still due to something outside myself? Yeah, it's amazing how deeply rooted that view is. Yeah, so we can hear teachings all day long, but when push comes to shove, somebody else's fault. 67, though clad in saffron robes, I seek protection from ghosts. Yeah, so we may be monastics, but, propitiating, kind of different spirits and so on. Though I've taken the precepts, my conduct is that of demons. So we've taken precepts, but we don't keep them very well. Our conduct is, like we were some kind of vicious demon. 68. Though the gods create my happiness, I propitiate malevolent spirits. Though the Dharma acts as my savior, I deceive the three jewels. Okay? So though deities, the meditation deities and so on, when we do their practices, it brings us happiness and realizations. What do? We propitiate malevolent demons. So this applies to this whole dispute within the Tibetan community about this protector practice. Okay, though the Dharma acts as my savior, nothing, the Dharma, the true cessations and true paths, that's the real thing that saves us from suffering. Instead of appreciating the Dharma as the medicine, the Buddha as the teacher, the Sangha as the nurses, we deceive the three jewels. Okay. Though always living in solitude, I am carried away by distractions. So I make myself a nice retreat place, get all the comfortable, amenities in it, have everybody think that I'm very renounced and I'm doing this very serious practice, but actually I'm daydreaming most of the time. Mind just caught up in distractions. Though receiving sublime Dharma scriptures, I cherish divination and shamanism. So while we may have teachers who teach us the great treatises, we would much rather do mows and do the I Ching and do shamanistic type of rituals. Okay. Forsaking ethical discipline, the liberation path, I cling to paternal home. Yeah. Casting my happiness into the river, I chase after misery. Okay, so forsaking the ethical discipline, there it's referring to somebody who's a monastic who has the precepts, and who can practice ethical conduct and follow the path leading to liberation. They cling to paternal homes. I want to go home and be with my family and help my family and get involved in, the family, all the, stuff that's going on in the family, make money for the family, take the family on holiday. And so you find you find some people who give up their ordination to go take care of their family. Yeah. And this is something that is actually a great problem when people invite Tibetan monks to come over to the West on some of these tours, on different things. The monks, want to get a job and make money and send it home to their family. And they would much rather wash dishes in a New York restaurant than remain as a monk because of attachment to the happiness of this life. So you have to be very, very careful, when you invite Tibetan monastics over, because and really see the quality of the practice and why you're inviting them over and what they're going to do. Yeah, because otherwise it could really endanger their ordination. Because the monk is clinging to paternal home. Okay, casting my happiness into the river, I chase after misery. So that's what we're always doing. Yeah, we crave so much for happiness, but we don't follow karma, the law of karma and its effects, and so essentially it's like we're chasing after misery. So we will pause here and resume tomorrow. We may have time for one or two questions. Yeah.
So we're looking at the reflective and we're looking at some of the karma we accumulated in previous lives. For example, maybe we didn't make offerings to you know, the Buddhas or I didn't do this or that in previous lives. So the assumption is that we've had previous lives as Buddhists, obviously we have. But what about other lives where we haven't? So are some of these things that we're looking at, they're true then across the board, whether we're Christian or
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, not all these things are referring to previous lives as Buddhists, but when it says we didn't make offerings and we weren't charitable, it doesn't matter whether we believe in a religion or not. Yeah. Yeah.
If something negative befalls you in your current life,
Mm-hmm.
can you usually trace back to what the cause is, the karmic event is,
Yeah.
that resulted this current?
That's resulting in this current thing. They say only the Buddha can do that completely accurately, to know exactly what specific action we did and everything that resulted in what we're experiencing now. But what this book is doing, this text, is it's telling us the type of action. And it's not important that we know, okay, 15 million eons ago when I was named, Joe Blow, I cheated my mother out of her inheritance. That's not necessary to know. Yeah, it's just necessary to know, I stole and I cheated people. And so I need to stop doing that this lifetime. Yeah. Knowing the specific deed from previous life is not necessary. Yeah.
What makes practices such as shamanism so harmful?
Because they distract you from doing Dharma practice. Yeah, you could be developing wisdom, developing concentration, practicing generosity, meditating on joyous effort or fortitude, but instead you do these other practices, invoking ghosts and demons and so on. Yeah, so you're welcome. Thank you for coming. Try and come tomorrow if you can, okay? So, so it just, it takes your time and energy away going in the opposite direction of where you want to go. Okay, yeah?
You were mentioning the Tonglen. Is that you were mentioning the Tonglen?
Uh-huh.
Is that an antidote for some of these past actions, negative actions?
Yeah, well, Tonglen and then the four opponent powers. Yeah, so you do like the Vajrasattva with the four opponent powers, or prostrations to 35 Buddhas with the four opponent powers. You can do the four opponent powers with any practice. You can meditate on, you can do the four opponent powers and then meditate on emptiness, yeah, or meditate on Shenrezi or meditate on bodhicitta.
They all work as purification.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tonglen could be the remedial action.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah. This will be the last question.
In the precepts, it talks about sexual misconduct.
Mm-hmm.
Could you elaborate a little bit about details of sexual misconduct?
Okay. This is one precept where I think we have to adjust it for modern sensibilities and not just refer back to what was acceptable in ancient India, because social mores are quite different now. But something that's common to both the ancient time and modern time are going outside of your own relationship. So if you're in a committed relationship, whether you're officially married or not, going outside of that, or even if you're single, going with somebody who is in a relationship. And then for modern times, I would say any kind of sexual behavior that is using other people sexually, whereby they could be hurt emotionally, or any kind of sexual behavior that could spread disease. And so not, for example, having unprotected sex. Did you have one question? No? Okay. Then we'll close for today.